We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Damien. Damien says he's fairly new to home theater and home audio, but he's been listening and doing his best to research. Now he'd like some help with a subwoofer upgrade. Dude, we cannot help you. We don't really do subwoofers around here. Wrong.
What's
podcast.
a subwoofer?
Hey, subwoofers.
Well, wait a second. That was in the singular. That's why we're confused.
We are very confused.
There's no
about,
S on the end of that subwoofer.
No, yeah, we don't do subwoofer.
So what is that?
That is a confusing statement you have made. It's like grammatically incorrect, I'm pretty sure. Subwoofers are always plural. So his surround sound system is in his living room, and that living room is open to his dining room, kitchen, and a stairway. Living room itself measures roughly 2,800 cubic feet, but he isn't sure what the total cubic footage would be when including all the other spaces, so we're going to go with about infinity.
Cubic feet.
He's using the Pioneer Andrew Jones FS52 towers with the matching C22 center, and some unknown brand name of small towers that he got for free as his surrounds. He feels as though he made a mistake, though, because when he bought the Pioneer speakers, he figured he ought to buy the matching subwoofer from the same brand. Yes, that was incorrect. But he now knows that this is common for people who are new to home theater, but unfortunately the Pioneer SW8MK2, or Mark II, I suppose, subwoofer isn't getting the job done.
First of all, Damien, yes, you are absolutely in good company.
Yeah.
When I bought when I started out, I had an RCA home theater in a box, so naturally that was the included, if you want to even call it, subwoofer. It was like a 6.5-inch woofer.
Right.
Right? But it was its own separate box. And then when I upgraded to a Polk audio system, I bought a Polk subwoofer that went along with it because, yeah, it seems awfully logical, doesn't it? I mean, you're at the store, here's everything in one brand. They're like, oh, they have a subwoofer too? You go, well, that would make sense. He even said in his email, it's like, they blend nicely together. That's not the problem. It's just not playing as low, not playing as loud as he would like in his setting, which all makes sense.
All makes sense. I had a Frankenstein system, and I ended up buying a KLH downward firing like 6-inch subwoofer with a front port or something that was like $100, $99 from Amazon, and these glowing reviews. And we've all been there, dude, so don't feel bad.
Not at all.
So his wife is not opposing any of his equipment choices, but still doesn't want a huge subwoofer. Ideally, the new subwoofer will be smaller in size, or at least similar in size to the Pioneer. He has a limited budget, though, so $500 would be the absolute maximum, but he definitely preferred to spend less. And he does want to go with dual subs eventually, but that just isn't in the budget at the moment. I see.
All of it understandable.
So which subwoofer should he buy and why? He's been considering the BIC PL200, the RSL Speedwoofer 10S, and the HSU VTF1 Mark III, but he's open to other suggestions.
This is tough.
Okay, so this is your problem. Your room is ginormous.
Yeah.
And there is no... Okay, you can have a subwoofer that plays low. You can have a subwoofer that plays loud. Or these are three things you can have. Subwoofer that plays low, loud, and a subwoofer that's cheap. Okay? You can
also do you could put low and loud together.
Yeah.
Cheap and small.
Right. Cheap and small.
Because those are the things he's looking for. And you can pick two of those. But you can't get all three.
You can't have small.
Really, just no way to
cheap.
get all three. Yeah, you can get small and cheap,
and still have loud and low.
Yeah, so you can have small and cheap together, but it won't play loud and low, which is actually what you have right now.
You currently own that.
You already got that. It's small and it wasn't too expensive, but it doesn't play low enough and it doesn't play loud enough. You can get a sub that plays low and loud and is cheap, but then it's going to be big.
Yes.
Or you can get one that plays low and loud and it's small, but then it ain't going to be cheap.
No. And that would be your JL audios.
That's right.
You get a box that's a reasonable size and it can fill your space plus some and absolutely crush. But it's like $12,000. That's
doesn't have to be quite that much, but it's well over $1,000.
Yes.
Well over $1,000. Yeah.
So most of our options here, in all honesty, aren't going to be able to hit the low and loud enough to pressurize your space, which, in all honesty, you probably don't want anyways. You don't want your entire house pressurized with bass.
But you can certainly improve upon the SW8.
That is true. So the
There's
SW8
no question
is
you can improve upon that.
an 8-inch, I'm guessing an 8-inch
It is.
subwoofer. And I'm
8-inch, 100-watt,
Okay.
basically a 13-inch cube.
All right, so it probably doesn't play much below, what, 35, something like that?
They
40?
even spec it at 38.
That is
So
not surprising, but
they're being pretty honest.
I was going to say, it's not surprising that that's what it does. It is surprising that they said it.
Yeah. Well, it is Andrew Jones. He doesn't really lie about his specs, so I'll give him that.
So let's look at the two things that he's suggesting. The BIC PL200, I don't remember, but I don't remember it being something that I ever recommended for anything ever.
So it was basically a borrowed HSU design.
Okay.
So it was like an STF-1 back when that existed.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's not a bad sub by any means, but it's not really appropriate for your space.
Right.
That's the issue.
So the RSL Speedwoofer 10, so it's a 10-inch driver, what are we thinking?
10-inch driver, 350 watt, basically a 16-inch cube, plays down to about 24, 25 hertz.
That's quite a bit bigger than what he currently has. So we can go with around the 16-inch cube as being something he's okay with for now, and then maybe push it up a little bit.
Well, and he mentioned the HSU VTF-1, which is 19 by 15 by 17.
That's a very big sub.
Yeah, that's getting pretty sizable.
That is a reason. That is crossed over from the 3 formula. You're now into large.
That's
because
right.
You have not. I guarantee you, sir, if you have not built the box, when you build the 19 by 15 by 17-inch box that you will need for the HSU, you will think that is an awfully large box.
Yes. So
but
let's
wait before we go on.
Yeah.
He may, because he's new, he may not have heard this. Whenever you buy a subwoofer online, the pictures never.
Yeah, you can't judge scale from the photos. Yeah.
Even if they have a person standing next to it,
right?
Even if you see a video of it in the room, you're gonna look at your own room and go, "Oh, yeah, if it's right there, it'll be just fine." No, take the dimensions, get yourself some cardboard, build yourself a cardboard box of those exact dimensions.
Yeah.
I mean, at least within an inch or so, and then stick it in your room and go, "Oh, that's gonna be okay, I suppose," or, "For the love of God, what have I done?" Because you want to do that now before you get this 75-pound subwoofer in your house.
We've had people tell us, like, they've even just held the tape measure up.
Yeah,
right?
that's
they
what I
take
did.
Tape measure, they hold it out, they're like, "Oh yeah, that'll fit," and then they get the actual box, and they're like, "Oh, like that." That's a filled volume of space. It's not lines, right? So,
that's exactly what I did. I held up the tape measure. I showed it to my wife. We were like, it's going to be about this big. It's a pretty big sub. We were looking at the EP500, which is probably about this, right? It's probably about it was 19 by 20 something, probably.
That's right. Yeah, it's in the VTF-1-ish size.
Yeah, and we held up the tape measure. We all went, "Yeah, that's pretty big." And I got it. I set it up and went, "Holy crap, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be."
But it's funny because I have one of those, and it seems small compared to the other subs that I have.
Does now.
I'm like, "Oh, that's such a reasonable size." Other people are like, "My God, the size of that subwoofer."
Right. But that's just physics. To overcome physics, you need a lot of horsepower, basically.
Displacement.
And that's where the money comes in. All right, so if you can go with the HSU VTF-1 Mark III, I'm guessing you were not that far off from an SVS PB-1000, which is probably going to be a very similar size, which makes me think that this sub is going to be, and that's about $500, isn't it? About $500.
Yeah. So the PB-1000 from SVS is exactly $500. Shipping is included. Although if your state charges tax, then I guess that would be on top of it. But the price difference between that and the HSU VTF-1 is very, very small. They're really quite comparable subs in size and output and everything. Yeah. But one reason we like SVS in particular for this application where you have a very large volume of air that you're trying to deal with is that the SVS subs are extremely well protected. Right. They're DSP controlled, they're digital signal processing controlled, so you can literally turn their volume dial as high as it will go without any worry of damaging the sub or even making it sound all. I mean, it'll distort. It'll start to distort. I don't want to say there's no distortion,
But you won't hear it bother me out, or
yeah,
you know,
not
any of
nearly
that
as
stuff.
badly as most other subs would distort if you turn their volume dial literally as high as it goes. So in a situation like this where you're dealing with a very large volume of air, and now you're going to get a sub that actually can output down to 19 or 20 hertz, where you're going to start to want to really crank that volume up because, like, hey, it's cool that I can even get that frequency, but you need a lot of pressurization, a lot of air movement to be able to hear that low. So that would be the reason to tell you to spend your entire $500 budget on a sub that is very likely larger than you want / expect it to be. But there's a reason to consider it. If you build the cardboard box and you're like, that's just too big, or you say spending all $500 is just more than I want to spend, then what? I mean,
Because
the
HSU is probably a pretty good
yeah,
good
but that's
option right
barely any smaller and barely any cheaper.
Well, I was saying the BIC one that is basically the STF one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that one plays down to 32 hertz. So you went from 38 to 32.
yeah, it's just not really good enough, man.
It's not really enough of an upgrade for me to get gung-ho about it, you know?
Well, and I don't really.
I mean, would you go the Speedwoofer, I guess? Speedwoofer's kind of in between everything.
It is kind of in between.
And that's $100 less expensive. It's only a 16-inch cube instead of having 19-inch dimensions. Plays down to 24, 25 hertz. You know, it's a good entry-level sub.
Let me put you this way. If money is really that much of an issue,
Yeah.
if it's really that much of an issue, you can feel good about the RSL purchase.
Yeah.
You will also spend the rest of your life wondering what if. I say that as somebody who has absolutely done that purchase hundreds of times across my life, where I'm like, this is what I want, but I'm going to get this one because it's a little bit cheaper.
Right.
And it does most of what I want anyways. That's what I'm doing right now with these phones. You know, I'm looking at the Motorola stuff. I'm like, you know, this one's basically does everything I want, but this one, you know, it's got all the good stuff, right? And I'm trying to figure out how much it's worth to me, and to my family, because this is money.
I wanted to mention that Monoprice's brand new Monolith 10-inch subwoofer, which actually won't be shipping until November.
Okay.
But that is also out there. It's actually, so it's $500 as well, although Monoprice charges shipping. So the total price will be over $500.
Yeah.
But it's even bigger than the SVS PB-1000, like only by about an inch or so in each dimension, but it's even bigger for around the same price. So, but I want to mention that it's out there. But honestly, here's where we're coming at. We're going to tell you that if the size is okay and you're okay with spending all $500, then the PB-1000 from SVS is where we're going to point you most likely.
Yes.
Because performance-wise, we think that's about as good as you can do for this amount of money. But we would understand if it's simply too physically large because it's big, or you just don't want to spend that much, in which case I would go RSL Speedwoofer 10S would be my second choice. You're giving up some stuff, but it makes it a bit smaller and it makes it a bit cheaper.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.